because it pays and it's a good thing. You understand? Yeah, that's something you can rely upon because people are going to always want to cut them hair. You understand what I'm saying? So it's a real good thing. Trust me. If you want to find a barbershop, you have to come to Mount Togo, right at the square of Mount Togo. That's where my barbershop is. And it's Honduras Barber. Yeah. And once you come Mount Togo, you say, we're Pony Barbershop there, you will find it.
Next week, we'll provide another highlight that will make an entrepreneur's night right. Until then, for Small Biz, Big Dreams, I'm Kevin Black.
Power in great moments.
Jamaica's newest and boldest football competition, the Popeyes Challenge Cup, rolls on with round 2 action Tuesday, May 19 from St. Elizabeth. Buoyed by a 2-0 opening round win over Wi-Fi United, Limehall of St. Anne look to eliminate Stets Elite Football Academy from St. Elizabeth. And Humble Lion enter the competition with the aim of knocking out their corporate area opponents, Medforest FC, with both teams in unfamiliar territory. It's round 2 of the Popeyes Challenge Cup. Humble Lion battle Medforest at 4:30 p.m. and Stets Elite FA take on Limehall in the feature at 7:45 p.m. Live on CVM TV. This is David versus Goliath. This is win or go home. This is the Popeyes Challenge Cup.
Watagwan. Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 a.m., 1:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. on CVM TV.
I'm me, the stylist, no scam and style me.
From the market to the farm to the office, money talk is everywhere. But are you making sense or nonsense? The Bank of Jamaica brings you common sense with BOJ. Real stories, real laughs, and real lessons to help you protect, grow, and manage your money. Mattress savings.
At least my mattress, you charge me to sleep on it.
Partner plan.
Remember last year we needed our payouts early? But Miss Pam gave it to her cousin first.
Or a sketchy loan flyer.
Electrifying deals.
See why making the right financial choices is pure common sense. Brought to you by Bank of Jamaica, empowering everyday Jamaicans one episode at a time.
Grandpa, it's 2026. You can't keep hiding all your money in every single pocket forever.
Thanks for joining us for CVM News at Noon. It's Tuesday, May 19, 2026. I'm Amoy Harriet. Up first this afternoon, tensions between the United States and Cuba are rapidly intensifying after Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel warned that any American military action against the island would trigger what he described as a bloodbath with incalculable consequences. The comments came after a U.S. news outlet reported that Cuba may have acquired more than 300 military drones from Russia and Iran, with unnamed American intelligence officials alleging the aircraft could potentially be used against U.S. targets, including the American naval base at Guantanamo Bay and military vessels operating in the region. Now, while Cuban officials denied posing any threat to the U.S., Washington has intensified pressure on Havana by imposing fresh sanctions targeting Cuba's intelligence agency, senior ministers, and top Communist Party figures. The rising tensions also come as Cuba faces a worsening fuel and electricity crisis, blamed in part on tighter U.S. restrictions and reduced oil supplies from Venezuela. Facts and context matter. That response from the government as it seeks to clarify details surrounding the recent audit, which revealed that only a small portion of donations received for hurricane efforts has so far been spent. The audit showed that of the $1.4 billion donated, just $26 million has been used. But Government Senator Marlon Morgan says the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM, had to undertake a number of processes to ensure the funds were spent properly and could be fully accounted for. Senator Morgan also sought to provide a breakdown of how some of the money has so far been spent.
Billion Jamaican dollars received in Hurricane Melissa donations. $240 million is being spent to support the Government of Jamaica directed roof repair program. Additionally, $600 million is being used to build bases for the modular housing solutions for the people whose dwellings have been destroyed. In tandem with that, $560 million of the donated funds has been committed to additional Hurricane Melissa-related recovery efforts. If the government did not go about using the funds in this manner, its detractors could easily argue them get a whole heap of money in donations and we not see where them do with it. That cannot be credibly argued in this case, however, as we have repaired roofs to show and will have concrete bases and other infrastructure and expenditure associated with the installation of modular housing solutions to point to and show you, the donors, what your money would have been used to do.
In the meantime, the government doesn't deserve any grace. That's according to the spokesperson on social protection and transformation and Member of Parliament, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, in response to the recently published audit report on the allocation of hurricane relief funds. Speaking at a recent press conference, Dr. Brown-Burke emphasized that speed must be adequately balanced with efficiency and accountability.
What the government did is that they eschewed almost every other group that could have been part of a national response and went on their own and did not work out the details. I said it before, I believe that the plan that they had for, let's say, roofs, for example, was not designed with transparency, accountability, or fairness. And once those are missing, as far as I am concerned, there is no grace.
Meanwhile, opposition deputy spokesperson on productivity, efficiency and competitiveness, Senator Cleveland Tomlinson, says the greatest need across the island is the need for shelter, noting that a number of members of parliament have argued that many of their constituents are still without roofs.
If you speak to all the members of parliament, they will tell you that they have many constituents who are not living under any proper roof. That is problematic. So we think that the substantial portion of the relief efforts that have been unspent should be directed towards housing, should be directed towards ensuring that there is proper shelter.
Are now in the pipeline to expand cancer treatment and screening across the island. That revelation from Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton, who is in Geneva for a critical meeting with the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA. The minister says the technical team will be sent to Jamaica to assess how the country can expand cancer care, including the addition of new equipment, as well as the possible establishment of a cancer treatment facility in central Jamaica. Dr. Tufton says the government is also looking to expand other areas.
Beyond that, I think it's important to expand our cancer screening and breast cancer screening in particular. So mammogram services, which when I became minister was almost non-existent in the public system. We have about 3 now across the different hospitals. We would like to add at least 6, probably more, in more hospitals, but also looking at how we provide those services at the primary level. So maybe in a few of our more recent health centers that have been expanded on the health system strength. So all told, what we want to do is to see more than a doubling of capacity of both cancer treatment and cancer screening in the public system, and the IAEA will be helping us with that. Beyond that, we are discussing the issues around training or capacity building. The truth is the machines have to be managed by people, and we're limited in that regard, so we are trying to work out a program with them in conjunction with the University of the West Indies or any other institution for training more Jamaicans or accessing better human resource capacity.
Let's take a break, but stay with us. More when we come back.
If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think alone, think Chris and Charles.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winfred Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Welcome back to CVM News at Noon. With plans to modernize the regulatory framework governing non-profits, a new Non-Profit Organizations Act is expected to roll out in October 2026, which will directly affect thousands of organizations delivering services in disaster response, education, social protection, youth development, and community resilience. But on Thursday, Executive Director for the Council of Voluntary Social Services, Nancy Pinhas, held a consultation meeting with several stakeholders on the proposed Non-Profit Act and its implications for Jamaica's civil society sector. Ms. Pinhas now joins us live to provide an update on what transpired at that meeting. Good afternoon, Ms. Pinhas.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Based on the overall consensus garnered from the meeting, is the new proposed act a welcome move by members of civil society groups?
Provided that the act sort of encompasses and takes into consideration the nuances of heterogeneous set of civil society organizations, meaning we're not all the same. Not only do we operate in different sectors, different areas, we're all different sizes with different amounts of resources. So, you know, we're asking for an approach that takes this into consideration. Having an overarching act is certainly a good thing. We really do encourage all our members, our smaller organizations in their, formative years, to get registered with the Department of Friendlies and Cooperatives, which is the charities regulator here in Jamaica. So it is absolutely a good thing. It is just as important that, civil society organizations who provide vital services across Jamaica strengthen democratic participation, and we support vulnerable communities, are participants in the preparation of the new act. That's really all we're asking for.
What's the primary impact of the act for non-profit and charitable organizations?
We don't anticipate that the act will be substantially different. We haven't had a look at it. There's something that we suspect, but again, we don't really have any clear guidance on the structure. But right now, there's a dual registration process. You register with the Companies Office as Jamaica as a company limited by guarantee, whose mission is to, and that's articulated in the articles, is to serve its beneficiaries. So you register there, and then you take your company documents and you then register with the charities regulator. So we anticipate that there will no longer be this, and it's optional. You can stop at Companies Office and you are technically a non-profit organization. Until you are registered with the DCSF, you do not derive any tax benefits, duty concessions, until you have that valid certificate from the charities regulator. But we anticipate, and again, we have no clear idea, that there will be, once you register, there'll be one registration for a non-profit organization in Jamaica.
Do you think there's a need for greater regulation within the sector?
I think it's important. You use the word regulation. There's a part of what I think I'd like to see. It may not be something that needs to be entrenched in law, but it may form a part of the accompanying regulations and the administration, is we'd like to see a real sort of reporting on what the charity sector does for this country. Part of what, and this is it's part of your submission to the charities, both annually and for registration, is to indicate very clearly how much donations you received. They don't really ask you, I think, to identify your beneficiaries, your sectors, your geographic areas. But this is a piece of information that the regulator could ask for in a very simple manner that would also serve the communities of civil society organizations, because it really would reiterate what we've always suspected, and in fact what DCSF report as a $40 billion in 2021 donations. I shudder to think between Beryl and Melissa where that number and what that number looks like. It is not insignificant. So these, like every other ministry, department and agency, I believe that part of the regulator should be reporting on some basic metrics of the contribution of civil society. It is a third sector. It is as important as private sector, and it's complementary to the government of Jamaica in how it achieves its Vision 2030 and SDG goals.
We see where some persons have viewed the move as a defining moment for the sector. But in your opinion, is there any way in which this new law could unintentionally be at a disservice to the sector?
Yes, we believe that without consultation or input from the institutions which fall directly under the Act, it is a possibility. But, it's an opportunity. And what we are seeking and soliciting is an opportunity to have a seat at the table, to be able to make recommendations, to assist the government as it frames a whole new set of legislation. It is not from what I understand, it's not an editing of the old Charities Act of 2013. This is an entirely new act. And it is just so important for all of us at civil society sit around the table.
In what way do you think that the government can ensure that the legislation is both effective and enabling?
Well, you asked a question about why is this important. Actually, we had started looking at the Charities Act before we were aware of the proposal to completely do away with it. So we'd already done a lot of the work, and we're taking it to a different level now. We are actually consulting with organizations who have guided us on what to look like, what a well-structured piece of legislation in a comparable country like Jamaica looks like. In fact, October this year, which is a deadline that the DOJ is working towards, is a deadline that Belize is working towards. And, you know, ironically enough, the Belize umbrella organization is tasked and has engaged the legal team to undertake and frame this act. So this act in Belize comes right out of civil society. And then obviously it's reviewed by the legislators in the government. So there might be something, or it is just simply coincidental, but this is important and we all need to pay attention.
We're just out of time, Ms. Pinhas, but before you go, one of the concerns we've heard is in terms of structure, barriers of entry. Do you think that just anyone should be able to get up and create an organization, or should there be certain criteria, certain standards, certain requirements that need to be met?
No, absolutely. There needs to be this protective framework, because obviously these are donations. We need to protect the beneficiaries. We need to protect the donors. We need to ensure that these organizations have systems of accountability and transparency. There is no doubt about it. A regulator is critical, but we need a regulator that is seen as a partner and a facilitator, because we need a framework that we all function within, that, you know, balances accountability with facilitation. The hurdles are not presently impassable, but they would be for a smaller organization with very limited resources. So again, the kind of a stratification of reporting needs to be considered in the consideration of the regulatory requirements for registration and or renewal under the new Act.
All right, thank you so much. That was Nancy Pinhas, who's Executive Director of the Council of Voluntary Social Services. Thank you so much again for sharing with us this afternoon. We go now to news overseas, where fresh alarm bells are sounded from the World Health Organization, WHO, with the Democratic Republic of Congo in the grips of an Ebola outbreak. The body says it's unlikely to disappear quickly, with the number of cases poised to rise. That report from France 24.
I'm deeply concerned about the scale and the speed of the epidemic. Beyond